The next thing we're going to discuss is ball placement. Ball placement is sometimes misunderstood because you read different things about ball placement. You may have someone tell you that you want to play your ball in the middle of your stance for your short irons and then move your ball progressively farther forward as you get into your longer clubs. And then you may have somebody like Jack Nicklaus say play everything off your left heel and then just move your right foot back gradually as your clubs get longer. They're both basically saying the same things if you understand what you're trying to do. By that, we're trying to place the center of our body, my sternum or my nose, in a different position as the clubs get longer. The longer the club gets, the more the center of my body needs to be situated behind the ball. So if I want to play the ball in the middle of my stance, I would need to have a wider stance than if I had a narrow stance. If I have a narrow stance, then the ball has to be farther forward. So if I have a normal width stance, my sternum or my nose is going to be just on the back side of the ball. So if I drop a line down, it's just on the back side of the ball. Now if I move the ball up to my left heel, you can see that now my head would be too far behind the ball for this width of stance. So if I was going to be Jack Nicklaus and play it off my left heel, I would have to move my right foot in closer to move the center of my body in closer. So the way we try to do ball position is we want to have the ball roughly towards the front center of our stance, with our stance roughly, somewhere 10 to 12 inches. So it's basically 2 inches from my left heel. My center of my body just behind the ball on my short irons, which would be my wedges and my 9-iron and 8-iron. As I progress forward into my middle irons, my 5, 6, and 7, what I'm going to do is move my feet slightly wider apart. So if I go to my 5-iron, the ball would stay roughly 2 inches from my right heel, but my right foot is moved slightly farther back, which again puts my head a little bit more behind the ball. So now if I drop a line down from my nose, you can see that it's somewhere around 1 inch behind the ball. From this position, I now can get a good turn back from the ball and still come into the ball with a positive shift of weight to my left side. So as I set up to the ball, middle irons, center roughly 1 inch behind the ball pretty close to 2 inches from my left heel. As I move into my long irons and fairway woods, what I'm basically doing now is getting my stance to its maximum width. With its maximum width, the distance between my two heels from the inside point is roughly the width of my shoulders. From this point, with my ball position still 2 inches from my left heel, now my head is going to be somewhere between 2 inches behind the ball. So if I drop my club down from my nose, it's going to be pretty close to 2 inches back. So that would be my long irons and fairway woods. When I move to the driver, what I do is move the ball up to my left heel. So I get my driver out. Stance is the same width as my long irons and fairway woods, but now the ball is off my left heel. If I still got my upper body in the proper position, now my head and shoulder, my nose, should be somewhere around 4 inches behind the ball. From this position, with my spine tilted slightly to the right, I can make a good full turn back and drive the club right into the back of the ball. Hitting the ball with the driver on a slightly upward arc versus your irons, you're going to hit it with a little more of a descending motion as your body weight shifts to your left side, not that you're trying to throw your hands down. So the ball position is relative to the center of my body. If we understand that part of it, we'll get more consistency in our game.
Okay, we're going to start with the grip and the grip pressure. Now, by far, this is the only connection from this club head that we have to our body. So the grip position is so important. I can't stress that enough. We're going to start with the left hand. If you'll see, I'm going to lay the grip of the club in my left fingers only. I'm not going to try and put it in the pad, just in the fingers. I'm now going to place the left pad on top of the club and then wrap the rest of my hand around it. Now, you can see the V between the thumb and the index fingers pointing toward my right shoulder. I'm going to do the same thing regardless if you have an interlock or an overlap grip. In the fingers of the right hand, cover your left thumb with your right hand, and as you can see, the right hand also, the V between the two is pointing to the right shoulder. So you can see it's only in the fingers. I'm not trying to palm it or hold it in the hands, just in the fingers. Now, of course, this is going to feel a little bit out of control, but that's what we want it to feel like. We don't want control with the hands and the arms. So once you're in the fingers, Both V's are pointing to the right shoulder. We have the proper grip. Now let's discuss the grip pressure and the arm pressure. Now in every other hitting and throwing sport, like baseball, we have enough pressure just to hold the ball, but not enough pressure that we're holding it so tightly that we can't use these fulcrums and hinges to be that passive. Golf is no different. On a grip pressure scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I can lift you off the ground, 1 being you throw the club, we're looking for about a 3 or a 4 throughout the entire motion. Now this applies to every single club in the bag. So with the proper grip, the grip pressure, 3, 4, 5, whatever you can become the most consistent with is what I'm looking for. So for me, a 3 on the grip pressure, it's just about letting the club just drop. That's how passive I want the hands and arms to be. So thanks for coming by for the grip, and let's move on to the next tip.
One of the variables not to overlook is proper grip size. It can cause problems in your game. One of them is, and ask yourself, do I sometimes hit the ball right? Do I sometimes hit it straight? Do I sometimes hit it left? That can be grip size, generally too small a grip size for the individual. Or ask yourself, do I almost always just push the ball to the right and I have a heck of a time? That can be too large a grip size for the individual. Now, there are also other fitting variables that cause those same problems, but we want to take them one at a time, and let's start off with this grip size thing and learn a little bit more about it. The size problems and also how to go about fitting it. So let's start off and see what causes this problem. So I'm going to start off, and I've got a cucumber here. Great thing for a demo. If I take this cucumber and I pretend it's a grip and I'm going to hit the ball, and now I want to just rotate my wrists as fast as I can and check my wrist action, it's very difficult for me to do that because my fingers are spread out so large like this. However, if I take a carrot, skinny little carrot, and I put my hands on it and it's really tiny grip, man, I can just turn my grip hands everywhere I want to turn my hands. I can rotate them. So the thing that happens is when I have the cucumber, I get an inhibited wrist action. It doesn't allow my wrist to come through in the proper roll rate or whatever wrists do coming into impact, but it definitely will cause a right-handed golfer, if your grip is too large, to push the ball to the right. And that's basically inhibited wrist action. The too small a grip will tend to have you hit it all over because you've got this wrist action that just goes wherever it wants to go. It's uninhibited, if you will. So what do we do about that? We want to go out and get our grip size fit. We can actually check it ourselves, and if we go out to get it fit, many places will have cut off shafts with grips mounted on them like this, where it goes from men's undersize all the way through men's standard size and even has arthritic on it. Plus the lady size grips are in the background here. It's a great way to check grip size. So let me show you how you check grip size. Let's do it on the cut off shaft first, and then we'll do it on a golf club so you can check your own. But if you're in a location that has all these grips cut off, this is a neat way to just, you pick them up and check it out yourself and see which one fits and feels the best to you. So what I do is I want to get into my normal hitting position. I want to be in my hands and everything, just like I'm going to really hit a ball. Tough to do when you got a sawed-off shaft like this. So I want to be able to be in that position, and I want to put my normal grip pressure on the grip. So what I do next is I drop my right hand off, and I come up and I take a look at these two fingers right here. If there's a gap in these two fingers to my palm, the grip is too large. If the two fingers are digging into my palm, then the grip is too small for me. If the fingers are barely touching or just slightly gapped, then the grip is the proper size for me under the left hand. If you're going to check your clubs right now, just take your club and go out and again get into the normal address position. Here's a little cautionary thing, and this is why we get in the normal address position. Don't overlook this point. It's very important. You get in the normal address position because people basically have two extremes. Most people are normal, but there's two extremes in setting up to the ball. Some people set up with their hands up very high like this, and they're in a much more upright position. Well, when you do that, the grip will feel bigger to you because your hand is on at a slant onto the grip. If, however, you hold it very low, very flat like this, and your hands are down low, your left hand is on in much more of a square position, so the grip will feel smaller to you. So very important, and that's why we pretend we're going to hit the ball, we get our normal grip pressure, and we come up and check grip size. So you see the basics of understanding what improper and proper grip size can do for you. So check it out, see where you're at, and go out and you will definitely play better if you're into the proper size grips, and also that they're not hard, worn out, or slick. If they've been on there for more than 2 years, you got a problem.
Okay, I'm going to show you how to use air to take a grip on and off. I'm just using a little tire inflator with just an inflator nozzle like this. I hold it against the vent. It's not as slick as the kind with the gun and compressed air, but hey, I've got this and it works. First I'll take it off. Nothing to it. I just use masking tape. You can do quite a bit of build up and still get the grip over it. Use a little bit of mineral spirits, just a little, wet the inside, a 1/4 inch or so. Put it back on. There you go.
Here in the design studio, I do a lot of putter testing on a very sophisticated putting robot. And I learned early on that not all golf balls are created the same when I was doing my testing, meaning that some golf balls are out of balance. By out of balance, I mean that the center of gravity of that golf ball is not located in the exact dead center of the ball. Most top-grade balls manufactured today are X-rayed and they're perfect. But we just have to be a little suspect with different brands and as we come down the cost ladder, so to speak, and we need a way to check those balls, and I'm going to show you a way to do that in a second. One of the things on this sophisticated putting robot that I found when I found unbalanced balls, and this is what it means to you, is that if you just unknowingly have an unbalanced ball and you set the heavy side down, let's say to the right, you could miss the putt to the right, depending on how far off balance the ball is. If you just set the ball down to putt it with the heavy side to the left, you could miss the putt to the left, again, depending how bad it is. But if you set the heavy side down or up or forward or back on the rolling plane, you could make the putt as long as you struck an accurate putt. So the putting robot shows us doing this, and it's quite interesting to see. So here's what we were looking for when we do golf ball balancing, and I'm going to show you how to do it. 3 conditions can possibly exist, and this is why I like this method, because it's the only method of balancing that shows you all 3 conditions. The ball can either be perfectly balanced, it can be a little bit off, in which case we want to mark it when we putt, or it can be way off, in which case I don't want to play with it. So here's how we're going to do it. Here's a little kit you can get. And this kit comes with a Sharpie pen, show you how to use that, and it comes with a big bag of salts. You mix it all up, you get 2 or 3 years worth of balancing solution out of this. It's slightly messier than some of the other methods, but again, it tells you the 3 conditions, and that's why I really like it. So what we're going to do is let's take this one over right here, get the solution set up, and I'm going to take my first ball, and this ball's perfectly balanced. So I'm going to put it in the solution, and I'm going to take my Sharpie pen, and I'm going to go ahead and put a mark on the ball. And I'm going to now rotate the ball, and the mark doesn't come back up to the top. I'm going to rotate the ball again, and the mark does not come back up to the top. I rotate the ball again, the ball does not come back up to the top. So this ball is perfectly balanced. So now we're going to take condition 2, the ball that's slightly out. Now on this one I put a big dark dot on it already so we can see it a lot easier in the solution. So that's the light side of the ball because the heavy side will be down. So I rotate it, and you can see that the dot slowly comes back up to the top. I rotate it again, and the dot slowly comes back up to the top. I rotate it again, and the dot slowly comes back up to the top. This ball is slightly out, but it is slightly off balance, and this is why we mark it. And we're going to always, when we putt, put that mark up, forward, back, or straight down. That way we have the heavy part of the ball in the proper rolling plane. Now I take the 3rd condition ball, and we know this is going to be pretty bad. So I put it in and I roll it, and the dot, the big dot again that I put on it, comes up very fast to the same spot. I roll it again, and the dot comes up very fast to the same spot. I roll it once more, and the dot comes up quite quickly again to the same spot. This ball's pretty bad I don't want to play with it, and it's rare to find one out this far. So balancing balls is interesting, and then what I like to do also is when I have a mark, then I'm going to take and put a couple lines on the ball. I can either put 2 lines on like this ball around my dot, or 1 line. The line system works great because you set the line down to your intended line of putt, and as long as your face angle and path on the putter are square, the ball will roll end over end over end as it approaches the hole. That way, with no wobble, you know that everything was fine. And you now have the proper weight of the ball opposite the dot on the bottom, so it will roll perfect without going right or left and be influenced by the ball being out of balance. So, kind of interesting, a lot of fun to do it. It's something else to allow you to concentrate a little bit more on your putt because you'll have the mark on it, you'll have your lineup lines. So go for it. And check all your golf balls because you don't want to know that it was the golf ball that missed the putt. You'd rather have you missing the putt because you can correct you as you practice later on.